My mother-in-law locked me in the bathroom while I was going into labor at her daughter's wedding because she didn't want me stealing the spotlight from the bride. A few hours later, I woke up in a hospital bed. My husband Rick and I just had our first baby girl about 32 weeks ago. We named her May, and honestly, we've never been happier. Life's been a whirlwind since then. There's so much going on, and we're still trying to figure out how to be parents. It's been tough on both of us, but we're doing our best to make it work. We don't really have much help though, and that's mostly because of what happened on the day May was born. That day turned into one of the most traumatic experiences I've ever gone through. I don't think I'll ever be able to forget it. Not even the joy of meeting our daughter for the first time has been enough to erase the fear I felt that day. To be honest, I think I could have died if Rick hadn't shown up when he did. Rick's got two younger sisters. Anna's 28 and Emma's 24. I actually get along really well with both of them, and as far as I can tell, there's no bad blood between us. We're not super close since everyone's busy with their own lives and careers, and we don't see each other all that often. Emma lives in another city entirely, but we try to stay in touch over the phone or by texting now and then. Now there's another big presence in Rick's family. His mom, Rachel. She's 53, and let me just say, things with her are nothing like they are with Anna and Emma. We don't get along at all, and I honestly don't think that's my fault. Rachel has a hard time with pretty much everyone around her. She's controlling, dramatic, and constantly demanding. She's the kind of person who has to have everything go her way no matter what. All three of her kids usually give in to whatever she wants. She raised them on her own after their dad walked out, so I guess they feel like they owe it to her or something. But the moment someone dares to have a different opinion or wants something she doesn't approve of, her reaction can go from whining and guilt-tripping to full-on meltdowns with tears and shouting. She's exhausting to deal with, so I try to keep my distance whenever I can. Rick gets it. He knows his mom is a lot to handle, so he lets me decide how much contact I'm comfortable with. I respect the bond he has with her even if she's difficult, and I stay out of it. She doesn't particularly like me, and she stays out of my business too, which honestly works out fine for everyone. But a few days ago, things spiraled completely out of control, and Rachel was the reason everything blew up. At this point, I honestly don't think I'll ever be able to forgive her. The day I went into labor just happened to be Anna's wedding day. It was a beautiful ceremony, and her husband John is actually one of Rick's good friends. He proposed to her about a year before the wedding, and not long after that, Anna asked me to be one of her bridesmaids. I happily said yes. But then when Rick and I found out I was pregnant, I had to come to terms with the fact that I wouldn't be able to handle all the bridesmaid duties. I asked Anna to choose someone else instead. That conversation happened about 6 months after the proposal, which meant there were still around 6 months left before the big day. At that time, I was 3 months along in my pregnancy. I knew stepping down might upset her, and I honestly expected her to be disappointed in me for backing out halfway. Still, I had to be realistic and prioritize my health and the baby. Before I talked to Anna, I was so nervous my hands were shaking. I was terrified that this would ruin our relationship for good. But to my surprise and huge relief, that didn't happen at all. Anna was over the moon when I told her I was expecting. She even kind of forgot about her own wedding for a second. When I explained I wouldn't be able to take on the bridesmaid role, she just smiled and told me the only thing that mattered was me being okay. She even briefly considered pushing the wedding date back because she didn't want me to miss it in case May decided to show up early. In the end, though, she didn't reschedule, which made sense for a lot of reasons, and honestly, she never should have felt like she had to. Emma ended up stepping in as her maid of honor, and I knew both sisters were swamped with wedding plans, so I tried not to bother them too much during my pregnancy. It was a rough pregnancy too. Even so, both of them stayed in touch with me. They visited when they could, and their support meant the world. Part of me still feels guilty for not being there for Anna on such an important day, especially since she stood by me the entire time. But the only person who seemed truly upset about any of this was Rachel, my mother-in-law. I had the sense that she was annoyed I wasn't going to be a bridesmaid anymore, since that threw a small wrench into the wedding plans. And honestly, that made some sense. I figured she was just frustrated with the added stress. But what I couldn't understand was why her attitude toward me stayed cold even after Anna had accepted everything so gracefully. The bride wasn't mad at all, but for some reason Rachel's resentment toward me only seemed to grow from that moment on. It felt strange. But I chalked it up to hormones on my end and nerves on hers. Since the wedding was coming up fast, all of that started messing with my head, and I kept coming up with these imaginary scenarios that made everything feel worse than it probably was. I did my best to ignore Rachel completely, and for a while things were more or less manageable. But everything exploded right there at the wedding, both figuratively and literally. It happened just 2 weeks ago, and by that point I was about to pop. My feet were so swollen I could barely get my shoes on. My belly was huge, and I felt like I might pass out at any moment. Even with all that, I still wanted to go to the wedding because I knew how much it meant to Anna that I be there. Beforehand, I actually asked her if she still wanted me to come. I didn't want to steal the spotlight on her big day. I tried to explain to her that when a woman's that far along in pregnancy, it can pull a lot of attention, and I really didn't want the guests focusing on me. It was Anna and John's day, and the last thing I wanted was to be the person who accidentally overshadowed them. But when I brought it up, Anna got genuinely upset. She looked shocked and told me she couldn't believe I was filling my head with that kind of nonsense. She said she didn't care about the attention or the looks or what people might say. All she wanted was to be surrounded by family on her special day. She was so clear and firm about it. She told me I needed to be there and that I shouldn't worry about any drama. And I believed her. Anna isn't someone who plays games or hides how she feels. If she didn't want me there, she would have said so straight out. But she did want me there, and she said it like she meant it. So I knew I had to show up no matter how physically drained I felt. Even though I was uncomfortable and barely able to stand for long stretches, I made the decision to be there for her. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I could feel the whispers behind my back from some of the guests. But I did my best to tune all of that out. Because Anna was happy I came, and that was the only thing I cared about in that moment. Rachel, on the other hand, barely spoke to me. She gave me these cold sideways looks the whole day. But honestly, I was feeling so awful I couldn't bring myself to care. I didn't have the energy to deal with her passive-aggressive nonsense. So I just let her stare all she wanted. I wasn't about to give her a reaction. And then came the moment that broke me and shocked every single person there to their core. Right before the ceremony started, I began to feel really off. I had already seen Anna, so I got up and slowly made my way upstairs, hoping it would help me feel a bit better, and I planned to come back down afterward. What I didn't notice, though, was that Rachel had followed me. I felt hot and dizzy, and my whole body was telling me something wasn't right. So I ducked into the bathroom thinking maybe I could cool off for a minute. And that's when it happened. My water broke. And I don't mean a trickle. It was like a flood hit that tiny bathroom. I immediately panicked because my daughter had chosen quite literally the worst time she possibly could to make her grand entrance. I was in shock, bent over from the pain, and in that moment I looked up and saw Rachel. At first I felt relieved. She ran over to me, and I told her to grab my phone and call Rick right away because we had to get to the hospital. She helped me sit down on the toilet, and I handed her my phone. And that's when everything went sideways. She froze. Then she looked me in the eye and said she wasn't calling Rick. Not yet. She said she'd wait until the ceremony was over. About an hour from then. Because she didn't want me stealing the spotlight from Anna. I stared at her like she'd lost her mind. I asked her if she was seriously out of her damn mind and told her there was no way I could wait that long. I reached out to grab my phone back, but she yanked it away. Then she stepped out and locked the bathroom door behind her. Took my phone with her. So there I was. Heavily pregnant. Literally going into labor. Trapped in a bathroom. Sitting on a toilet with no phone and no husband. I don't know how I didn't have a full-blown panic attack right then and there. Thank God I didn't, because honestly I don't know what would have happened if I had. I somehow managed to stand up and dragged myself over to the door. I started pounding on it with everything I had. I screamed and screamed until my voice gave out. But no one came. The bathroom was on the second floor, and by that time all the guests were seated downstairs for the ceremony. No one could hear me. No one even knew where I was. I screamed until I literally couldn't make a sound. And in that moment, I genuinely thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to lose my baby right there. I was soaked, dripping sweat, barely conscious, and completely alone. That's the last thing I remember. I must have passed out from exhaustion. I don't even know how I got to the hospital. But somehow I did. The next thing I knew, I was waking up in a hospital bed. Rick was sitting next to me sobbing like I'd never seen him cry before. It took me a few seconds to even figure out where I was. And when I saw Rick like that, my heart dropped. I assumed the worst. Right away, it all came rushing back. Rachel locking me in that bathroom. Me screaming until my throat went raw. And the thought hit me hard that maybe me didn't make it. That maybe I had lost her. When Rick saw me open my eyes, he let out this deep, shaky breath and just collapsed into my arms sobbing. I didn't know what to think and my whole body went cold inside. Then a nurse walked in holding a little baby girl and I finally exhaled. I honestly wanted to smack Rick for scaring me like that. But he told me he didn't mean to. He was just terrified. When he found me unconscious in that bathroom, he thought he was too late. The moment I held our daughter for the first time is something I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. There's just no feeling like it. Nothing in this world could ever come close. I don't think I'll ever feel anything more powerful than I did in that moment. Rick didn't say much right then. No big explanations, and I was grateful for that. I didn't have the strength to process anymore. Then I heard voices just outside the room, and I asked him what was going on. He told me Rachel was standing out there. She wanted to come in and see her granddaughter. That's when I told him everything. I told him how she followed me upstairs, how she watched me go into labor, how I begged for help, and how she locked me in there because she didn't want me taking attention away from Anna's wedding. I told him that she had put our daughter's life in danger for no reason. And I told him there was no way I would ever allow her near our child. Not now, not ever. As far as I was concerned, she no longer existed. That's when Rick told me he already knew everything. He said that when he found me, she broke down and admitted to what she'd done. I told him I didn't care if she confessed. It didn't change anything. I still wasn't going to forgive her. Rick laughed a little, but it wasn't a happy laugh. He told me that as far as he was concerned, his mother was dead to him too. And that he was going to file a report with the police. Because what she did wasn't just cruel. It was criminal. He said he was going to make sure she was held legally responsible for putting both my life and our daughter's life in danger. And the moment he said that, it felt like a weight had been lifted from my chest. I know he loves his mom. All three of them do. But what she did, there was no coming back from that. And if Rick had chosen her over me, if he had tried to defend her or make excuses, that would have been the end of our marriage. There would have been no going back. To be honest, I had kind of prepared myself for the chance that Rick might side with his mother. No matter what she had done, she really did raise them on her own, and I know she put a lot of herself into it. So I didn't expect him to be this firm about standing with me. But I'm definitely not complaining. If anything, it made me love him even more than I already did, and I didn't even know that was possible. I asked him how the rest of the wedding went, and he told me it was all good. Emma and Anna were already waiting for his call so they could come see us. I asked if Anna was mad at me, and he just laughed. Told me I had nothing at all to worry about. He said Anna was glowing with pride. That she said the whole family was there and the birth of our daughter was the greatest gift she could have asked for on her wedding day. As soon as I heard that, my eyes filled with tears. I told him to call them right then. Just a few minutes later, Anna, Emma, and John walked into the room. And the sweetest thing about it, Anna and John were still wearing their wedding outfits. Anna just smiled and said there was no way she was missing the chance to get a wedding photo with her brand new niece. I completely broke down, tears streaming. It was one of the most touching moments of my entire life. After we took the picture, I told Anna I was sorry for ruining her day. She pulled me into a hug and told me I had it all wrong, that I didn't ruin anything. She said I made it unforgettable. Then I opened up and told her everything that had happened with Rachel. From the moment we announced the pregnancy all the way to being locked in that bathroom. Anna just shook her head and told me the only mistake I made was not telling them sooner. If I had, they might have been able to shut down the drama before it even started. I told her I didn't want to cause problems. And that's when Emma jumped in and said the only thing that matters is that I'm safe. Even writing this now, I'm crying again. Because it hit me hard in that moment. They love me. Like real family. To them, I wasn't just Rick's wife. I was theirs too. Anna is honestly one of the most incredible people I've ever met. She's confident and grounded and full of light. I don't even understand how Rachel turned out to be the complete opposite of her own kids. It's like they looked at her and decided exactly who they never wanted to become. It's weird. But I don't really care. Because in that moment, everything felt right. From what I heard later, Anna had told Rachel right at the entrance that she was going to personally make sure Rick and I pressed charges. Rachel still wanted to come in and see May, but I couldn't even stand the thought of her being near us. Anna told me flat out that we needed to keep our distance from her for our own safety. Then she apologized to me. Said maybe she should have paid more attention earlier to how overbearing her mom was acting, or maybe made it clearer that my pregnancy wasn't some kind of burden to her. She thought maybe if she'd handled it differently, all of this could have been avoided. I told her that she always made me feel safe. That none of this was her fault in any way. While all of this was going on, Rick was still outside talking to his mom. A few days later, after May and I were released from the hospital and back home, Rick told me exactly what that conversation was about. He said he looked her right in the eyes and told her he was going to sue her. And that she could go to hell because that decision was final. He said she would never have a place in May's life. She was no longer a grandmother in any sense of the word. She made the choice to risk my life and the life of our unborn baby over some imagined offense that wasn't even hers to take. On top of that, he told her that the money he and Emma had been giving her was going to be cut way back. She'd been living off their help for years. That's when she broke down crying. Said she spent her whole life working hard for her kids and didn't deserve to be treated this way. Rick told her he appreciated everything she did for them growing up. But that didn't give her the right to control their lives now. He told her she was wrong. That for years he made excuses for her behavior and turned a blind eye because he wanted to believe she meant well. But now he couldn't ignore it anymore. Because when it came to me and May, she crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. She proved she was dangerous. Especially when Anna had zero issue with my labor happening on her wedding day. Rachel's response was that as a mother, she just assumed Anna wouldn't want her day ruined. And when Anna heard that, she absolutely tore into her. So yeah, we're going forward with legal action against Rachel. Rick's handling everything. Because I have a newborn to take care of. And I don't want to get dragged into the drama anymore. Rick told me not to worry. He's going to take care of all of it. None of her kids want anything to do with her now. Anna completely cut ties. Emma only talks to her when absolutely necessary. And Rick and I, of course, have gone full no contact. I really don't think she saw this coming. Maybe she honestly thought she was doing something good for Anna. Which sounds completely twisted. I'm not defending her, not even close. But I do feel a little sorry for her. Because it's obvious she didn't think it would all blow up like this. Now I find myself wondering if maybe they should try talking to her. It just feels off somehow. Like this isn't how it was supposed to end. I don't know, maybe I'm not thinking straight. But I know if I even hint at this to Rick, he's going to lose it. He's still furious and can't even stand the idea of seeing her. I definitely didn't expect things to end up here. But here we are. Update 1. So yeah, any talk of reconciliation is off the table for good. I know I haven't posted in a while, but I've been a brand new mom, which basically means surviving day to day. The good news is May's almost 8 weeks old now, and we're all doing amazing. Anna and her husband John have been absolute angels. They help Rick and me with so much. Emma had to go back to work, but she still calls almost every day. May has become the light of all our lives. Everyone's obsessed with her. Our group chat is just wall-to-wall baby photos. As for Rachel, we're still not speaking to her. I convinced Rick not to go through with the lawsuit. We've got enough on our plates, and honestly, court wouldn't have done anything but drain us more. Rick didn't want to let it go. But in the end, he agreed. We were just too exhausted to keep pushing. When we told Rachel last week, she actually looked grateful. And I say looked because the woman is clearly unwell. And last week she showed us just how unwell she really is. That night, Rick and I woke up around 1 a.m. to someone pounding on the front door. At first, I thought we were being robbed. So I grabbed May and ran to hide, while Rick went to go see who it was. I could hear yelling, but I didn't dare come out because I didn't want to wake May. Turns out it was Rachel. And according to Rick, she was completely unhinged. She was screaming that she had a right to see May, yelling that we couldn't keep her out. Rick had to threaten to call the cops before she finally left. She literally tried to push her way into the house. We called Anna and Emma right away. If she's losing it like that, they needed to know. We were seriously shaken up. But apparently we didn't even know the half of it. The next day, Rachel sent us the creepiest message. It started off with her ranting about how disgusting and cruel we were for keeping her away from May, saying we were punishing her, and that her only crime was being a mother. Then it spiraled into full-blown melodrama. She went on and on about how hard it was raising 3 kids, how she had to constantly balance everyone's needs. And that's supposedly what she was doing on May's birthday. She didn't want her granddaughter to steal the spotlight from Anna, conveniently forgetting that May was still in the womb. And that Anna had said over and over she didn't care at all about the timing. Honestly, that part one could almost try to rationalize. But then she said something that absolutely wrecked me. She admitted she was scared that with May in the picture, she wouldn't be the most important person in her kids' lives anymore. When I announced I was pregnant, she actually hoped Anna would be furious, because according to her, that's how a normal woman would react. But when she saw all of us happy together, celebrating both the baby and the wedding, it made her angry. She straight up said she hated that we were all happy for each other. She wanted jealousy, competition, resentment. She admitted that when she realized my due date would fall close to the wedding, she hoped it would cause drama, that Anna would get upset and demand the attention. But it didn't happen. Instead, everyone was just excited about May. And Rachel said she felt humiliated, like this unborn child had replaced her as the thing that united the family. She kept writing and writing. It just got darker and more desperate. When I asked Rick to block her, I told him straight up that his mom was completely unhinged and dangerous for May and for all of us. I've had a headache nonstop ever since I saw those messages. I just can't wrap my head around a woman over 50 seriously competing with a 7-week-old baby. It doesn't make sense, and honestly, it shouldn't. I'm done trying to justify her behavior or figure out her motives. She can go to hell for all I care. We forwarded those messages to Anna and Emma, and they were horrified too. They suggested she might be having some kind of manic episode. Emma even said she was flying in to take her to get checked out at a clinic. I think that's the right call, but I'm done being involved. That kind of behavior is beyond the line, and I want nothing to do with her anymore. So before we move on to the next update, I want to hear what you all think in the comments. Personally, I think Anna and Emma are right. This is probably a serious mental health issue. Because yeah, on one hand, I get it. She's scared all the attention is shifting to this little girl now. That makes sense in a way. But that reaction is totally not normal. She obviously has some serious psychological problems. So yeah, she definitely needs some kind of evaluation. Also, I'd like to hear what you think about whether we should still take her to court. Because on the one hand, she's got obvious mental health problems, and she is after all still a mother despite what she did. But on the other hand, what she did was seriously wrong. I don't know, I'm torn about it. What do you think? Now let me tell you what happened next. Update 2. We got a restraining order against Rachel. She hasn't tried to do anything since then. But we're still cautious. Emma took her to get checked out and talked to both a psychologist and a psychiatrist. Turns out she's okay physically. They diagnosed her with generalized anxiety disorder. The doctors said there's no medical reason for her behavior, and advised Emma to get her into therapy. After that, Emma stopped talking to her. She said she was ready to help if Rachel really had an illness. But it turned out that hate and anger are just part of who she is. And Emma isn't going to put up with it anymore. I completely get that, and I agree with her. Maybe I could have felt sympathy or supported her if we found out she had a mental disorder. But now that's ruled out, we see her for who she really is, and there's no chance of making peace. That's exactly why we got the restraining order. For me and Rick's safety comes first and foremost. And Rachel has proven twice that being around her is dangerous. What's worse is she's openly hostile toward May. So we have to be extra careful and keep any contact away. I think this will be my last update, and I truly hope I never have to talk about this again. It's been painful for the whole family, and I'm just grateful we're safe now. So that's it for now. I honestly hoped she had some psychological problem, but as you can see, it's just her personality. Though then again, what really is a psychological problem and what's personality anyway? Maybe it's just a thin line. History of psychology shows some things weren't once considered illness, but now are. So saying it's just her character might not be totally right. On the other hand, I understand there are just a lot of mean people with nasty beliefs in this world. Sadly, there's nothing you can do about that, and the only thing left to do is feel sorry for the victims in stories like this. Thanks for watching this video all the way through. Check out our previous video right here. And good luck to you.